Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, August 12th. This is Amanda. It's Math Monday, and we're working on property taxes this morning. So in the 10 o'clock session, we learned the basics of property math. So we're going to keep working on these problems because I've got a little something new to show you in the next problem. But let's just go back a little bit and tackle this one again, okay? So number 10 says, if a property has a market value of $275,000 and is assessed at 25%, what are the annual property taxes if the local tax rate is $3.25 per $100? Now, in case you missed this morning, these are the steps that we're going to use. Let's take the market value, the 275, and let's just multiply that by the assessment rate. The assessment rate is the 25% right here. So multiply that times 25%. And that would give us what's called the assessed value. All right. Now, the only issue is, what is our local tax rate? Our local tax rate is the $3.25 per 100. And the issue is we can't use the $3.25 like that. That's not useful. So what you could do is take the $3.25. Let's divide that by 100 because it's $100. And that will give us a decimal point, 0.035. So just plug that in right there. And just multiply it out and you'll get our answer. So market value times the assessment rate gives us assessed value times 0.035. And that will give us the annual property taxes. Kim, you want to just double check your decimal, sweetie? I think your decimal point might be just a little bit off. Liliana, you forgot the decimal point, and that's okay. Yancy, that looks good. Tasha, looking good. Tasha, did you get your hands on a calculator during the break, or are you still doing it by hand? You're still doing it by hand? Oh, your brain is growing. Good for you. Tasha says, yeah, I think that will help me remember better for the test. I agree. Miss Olga, good morning. Miss Olga's got $2,234.38. Looks good. Now, for my new people, I always like you guys to put your answer in the chat for me. And that's simply because I'm not there with you. I can't walk around and peek over your shoulder and see what you're doing. So by putting it in the chat, that helps me see what you got, okay? And that way I can kind of have an idea. Are you guys picking it up, or do I need to go back and re-explain it again? Sajinder, good morning. Kim, you see what you did wrong? Great. Good, good, good. Okay, so what we did, guys, is we took that market value. That's the big number. This is what the state thinks your property is worth. The market value, and we first multiplied it by the assessment rate, the 25%. And that gave us what's referred to as the assessed value, okay? And then we had to multiply by our local tax rate. And this is our local tax rate, the $3.25. So we convert that into a decimal. All right. And so all we did is take that $3.25 and divide it by 100, and we got 0.0325. So we'll just plug that in right there. We'll multiply it out and we get $2,234. And let's just say 0.38. You can round up if you want. Okay. Liliana's asking, do they allow calculators on test day? Yes. Yes, they will provide a calculator to you, Liliana. So don't worry about that. It'll either be an actual calculator or it'll be a calculator on the screen. Yeah. So Ginger, there's the August schedule. And for those of you that may have come in a little bit later, I'm going to put the handout in the chat one more time. So give me 1 second. Let me navigate to that. Alrighty. You're welcome. Okay. So we got this, right? We got this down. So market value times assessment rate gives us assessed value, then assessed value times local tax rate gives us annual property taxes. Tamika says I have black boxes. Guys, sometimes it's a weird quirk about Zoom and PowerPoint. Whenever I share a PDF, these black boxes will show up sometimes on the screen. That's what we figured out. So I don't know why that happens. All right, now we've got something new we need to add to the mix. Okay, let's see what we got here. Number 11. It says if a property has a market value of $373,500 and is assessed at 20%, what are the annual property taxes if the local tax rate is $5.50 per $100 with an equalization factor of 1.5? Okay, got something new. So what I want you to do is we're going to do basically the same steps, but this time I'd like you to take that equalization factor and stick it in right here. And all you're going to do is just plug it in just like it is. Just multiply times 1.5. You don't have to worry about moving the decimal or anything. So just stick it in there and you'll get it. Okay. Let's tackle that one, you guys, and see what we get. Now you can either do the equalization factor down here or up here, it doesn't matter, but make sure you do the assessment rate first. This has to be done first. All right, let's see what we got. Okay, you guys are putting your answer in the chat. Looking good. Richard, you need my email address again? Sure. There you go. Liliana says, I don't think I'm doing it right. It's okay, Liliana. I'm going to walk you through it. Joseph. That looks good. Good job. Eduardo, looking good. Eduardo, your number's a little bit off. Let's see what happened there. Looks like you might be a little off. Miranda, that looks good. Shari, that looks good. Okay. So let's take a look. All right. Actually, let me duplicate this screen 1 second. I was explaining what an equalization factor was for the last class. So let me take these two columns off real quick. 1 second, you guys. There we go. Because I know somebody's going to ask what an equalization factor is in just a second. Okay, so we're going to start with the market value. So Liliana, we're going to start at the top with the market value, the 373,500. And then we need to multiply it times the assessment rate. And the assessment rate is 20%. And 20% as a decimal is 0.2 or 0.20. You can do it like that as well. Multiply that out, and that will give us an assessed value of 74,700. But we have this equalization factor to worry about. So we're just going to put it right there. Okay, it's 1.5, 1.5. So if we multiply that by 1.5, we'll get a taxable value of $112,050. But now we need to multiply times our local tax rate. And our local tax rate is $5.50 per 100. Well, we can't really use it like this, $5.50 per 100. So we've got to convert that to a decimal. So all you do to do that is you take $5.50 and divide it by 100 because it's per 100. And that's where you get the 0.055. That's where that comes from. And you're just going to put that in right there and multiply. And our final answer is $6,162.75. Okay, good job, Eduardo. Liliana says, oh, okay. Do you see how to do it now? Is it a little bit clearer for you? A little bit. It's just multiply, multiply, multiply. The hardest part, Liliana, is knowing what to do with the tax rate, knowing how to convert the tax rate. That's the tricky part. And we went over that. We spent a lot of time going over that this morning in the first session. But you're always able to go back and watch it on demand so that you can see the first one. Okay, now, nobody has asked me what an equalization factor is yet. I'm kind of surprised. You guys always ask me that. So what an equalization factor is, it is a factor, it's a number that the state will apply to equalize, to force the different municipalities to generate the same amount of tax revenue. Okay. So, and this is the example that I showed you guys earlier. So let's say that you have these three different tax areas, 3 different counties, let's say. And this one has the same tax rate, $5.50. And this one has $5.50 per $100. But this last one, the third column, this say the tax rate is $8.50. You see here, these two, there's a big difference in tax revenue, right? $4,108 versus $6,349. That's the difference between living in an area that's taxed at $5.50 per $100 versus an area that's taxed at $8.50 per 100. See do you see the difference, Anthony, between the two? So the state says, well, you know what? Since you're not bothering or you're not able to raise your local tax rate in order to generate the same amount of revenue. What we'll do is we'll basically go in there and force it up ourselves by applying this equalization factor. So you see how you put that 1.5 in there, and look at that. Look, do you see how the annual property taxes jumped up? Now it's actually comparable to that. Susan says the state forces this on the counties. Yeah, it forces that local municipality, whether it's the county or the city, Susan. Yeah. Because again, the whole point is you need to be generating the same amount of tax revenue. If you're like a neighboring county, do any of you guys have areas where you have a city where a city has grown so much over time that the city has kind of melted over the property lines, over the county lines? And you'll have some people who live in, like here in Alabama, we have Jefferson County with Birmingham, but then but Birmingham has kind of grown so much, it's kind of grown into the county south of it. I think that's Shelby County. But if they're taxed at different rates, you'll have people living in Shelby County at a lower tax rate, but going to work in Jefferson County. So it's kind of like they've got a job in Jefferson County, but they're being taxed at the Shelby County rates. So again, it's a way for a state to do it for a particular area. And it says, hey, you're benefiting by all the jobs and the people living in there, but you got this local tax rate. You're not pulling your fair share of property taxes. So that's what it is, an equalization factor. Does that make sense to you guys? That's what it's used to do. Because otherwise you're going to have this one county who's really not pulling their weight as far as property taxes are concerned. All right. Anthony says, can you define it again, please? Anthony, it is literally what it says. And that's an easy way to remember it. It is a factor. It's a number that's used to equalize the amount of tax revenue that an area is producing. Do you see the local tax rate here? So once this is the column with the equalization factor. And this is the column without the equalization factor. And you see a big difference in the numbers, right? So again, it is a factor. It is a number that's going to level out. It's leveling out the amount of tax revenue that's produced. It's equalizing it. You're welcome. All right. So let's do another one. And guys, this is the ones with the equalization factors. These are the ones that my students have come back and said was on the state test. So let's make sure we know how to do these, okay? This is an easy question that we could get correct when we take our state licensing exam. All right. So let's try it again. Let's do number 12. And I'm going to put the steps up there to help you. So JC says, it makes sense in equalizing the counties, but some people live in counties intentionally with lower property taxes. Yeah, they do that. Yeah, definitely, JC. But the problem is when it becomes a strain on the county next door, when you have people living there, are working in that county, taking advantage of those services in that county, but then you go to bed at night in another county. So it's really just to balance out the strain of it. But I totally understand it. All right, number 12. If a property has a market value of $175,000 and is assessed at 30%, what are the annual property taxes if the local tax rate is 35 mils with an equalization factor of 1.25? Now, meals is a little bit different, you guys. For those of you that missed the morning session, for meals, take 35 meals and divide it by 1,000, not 100. And that will give you your local tax rate as a decimal. Because a meal is 1/1000th of a dollar. So that's why we're using meals this time. We're dividing it by 1,000. All right, number 12. So what are we coming up with, you guys? All right. So again, we're going to start with our market value. 175,000, and let's multiply it by the assessment rate of 30%. And that will give us $52,500. Okay. And then we have our equalization factor of 1.25. And let's plug that in right here and multiply. And we'll get $65,625. And then this time, this question's a little bit different. Our local tax rate is 35 mils. So mils is a little different than dollars per 100. This time, to convert mils into a decimal, we've got to divide by 1,000. And so that's going to be 0.035. So that'll be right there. So we'll multiply that and we'll get $2,296, and we can go ahead and say 88 cents. Liliana says, I have no clue where I'm going wrong. Oh, I'm sorry, Liliana. Liliana, are you writing down your steps as you go? Do you have like a piece of paper and a pencil and you're writing it down? You do? Okay, well, just take a moment and compare your paper to what I'm doing on the screen. And let's see where you made your error. And again, that's advice I would give all of you guys. When you're learning how to do math, get a piece of paper, get some paper, get yourself a pencil, and literally write every step as you go. It does two things. Number one, it reinforces it in your brain better when you actually handwrite things. And number two, if you make a mistake and you're not getting it correct, you can see where you went wrong. Now, don't forget, I'm recording. You can always go back and watch it. Watch the first one, Liliana, from the start. You can, and then you can also print my handout and then have the paper handout with you, so you can do it on the handout. You accidentally put 0.003 instead of 0.3. Oh, okay, right here, where you took the 30%. Okay, that's an easy mistake. That's a common mistake. That's okay. A lot of students do that. No worries. I'm glad you found it. All right, so I've got one more thing to cover with you guys, and then we're going to do some practice problems, okay? All right. We also need to know how to calculate the tax rate or the millage rate, the tax rate or the millage rate. All right. So how do we come up with this tax rate or this millage rate? Basically, we're going to take the tax requirement and divide it by the tax base. Okay, the tax requirement divided by the tax base. So the tax requirement is the budget. This is how much money that particular municipality needs to raise every year. So we would call that the budget. Okay. The tax base is the dollar value of all the properties in a geographic area. So if you have so many square miles of the city, all the properties that are in that area, that's their dollar amount. That's the tax base. So the budget or the tax requirement divided by the tax base equals the tax rate or the millage rate. So let's do a practice problem together, okay? All right, so for example, let's say the taxing body needs $500,000 from property taxes. That's their budget or their tax requirement. That's what they need. And the tax base for the district is $15 million. How would we get the tax rate? So we're going to say tax requirement divided by the tax base will give us the tax rate. Yeah, Tasha, you might want to break out that phone calculator now. It's a little different from division, right? All right, so 500 divided by 15 million is 0.0003. Okay. But guess what that is, you guys? That's a decimal, isn't it? That's a decimal. And we either want our tax rate to be in mills or dollars per 100. Dollars per 100. That's how we want our tax rate to be expressed. So we've got to convert them. So for mills, we multiply by 1,000. So it would be 33.3 mills. Or if it's dollars per 100, multiplied by 100, it would be $3.33 per 100. Okay. Because remember, a mil is 1/1000th of a dollar. That's why we're using thousands for mills. Dollars per 100, it's per 100. So that's why we're using 100 for that one. So again, guys, if you missed this morning session, you might be a little bit, you might be a little bit behind as far as the mills are concerned and the dollars per 100. Tasha's asking, will we be able to use a calculator on the test? Yes. Yes, Tasha, they will either provide a physical calculator or you'll have access to the calculator on the screen. You're welcome. All right, you guys ready to practice this? Let's do a couple of practice problems, okay? All right. Number 13. A town has a tax base of $60 million and a budget of $3 million. What is the tax rate in terms of mills? What is the tax rate in terms of mills? What is the tax rate in terms of mills? All right, so let's take the tax requirement, which again is the budget, is 3 million. And we're gonna say 3 million divided by the tax base will be 0.05. 0.05. Okay, remember the tax requirement goes on the top. The big number, the tax base will always be the bigger number, Liliana, okay? So a way to remember it is this is a bigger number. Think about it being heavier. It's a big number, it's heavy, so it's gonna sink to the bottom. And the smaller number is lighter, it'll go to the top. All right. Now, 0.05 is a decimal. We've got to convert that to mils. So we multiply by 1,000 and we get 50 mils. 50 mils. Good job, guys. And then also I put it down here as well. If you wanted to do the dollars per 100, it would be $5 per $100. So 50 mils. 50 mils. Okay, let's do another one, okay? Number 14. A town has a tax base of $411 million and a budget of $850,000. What is the tax rate in terms of mils? What is the tax rate in terms of mils? Remember, the tax base is the bigger number. It's going to be on the bottom. Big bottom, big on the bottom. The budget goes on top, the tax requirement. Okay. All right, 850,000 divided by 411 million is 0.002068. If we wanted to convert that to mils, it's multiplied by 1,000 and would get 2 mils, or probably 2.07 mils, right? Or $2.07 per $100 of value. Very good. Good job, guys. Awesome. Tasha, did you get your, looks like you got your calculator out. Very good. Yeah, it's harder with division, right? Okay, so tell you what, let's do some practice problems. So give me 1 second. Let me open up my next PowerPoint. And we'll do some practice problems. So we'll go back to the beginning and do a little practice. All right. Again, here is a practice PDF for you. There you go. All righty, let's do a little practice because practice makes progress. Number 1. A property has a market value of $275,000 and is assessed at 20%. If the local tax rate is $3.50 per $100, what are the annual property taxes? Okay, let's see how you do these without the training wheels. Okay, looking good. You guys are all telling me it's 1925, $1,925. Okay, looks good. All right, let's see what we got. All right, we're gonna start with $275,000. Let's multiply by 20%. That will give us an assessed value of $55,000. And then our local tax rate is $3.50 per 100. And that converts to 0.035. That's what I got. I got $1,925. Woo, good job. Hey, Liliana, you got that one. Good job. Very good. You're fine, sweetie. It's not a race, and that's why I record these so you guys can go back and watch them at your own pace. You can stop the recording, do your work, and then hit play. Very good, very good. All right. Let's do it again. Number 2. A property has a market value of $430,000 and is assessed at 35%. If the local tax rate is $4 per $100, what are the monthly property taxes? Take your time. Let's see what you come up with. All right. Okay, now we want to be careful, right? Anytime we're doing a quiz question or we're doing a math question, we want to read it very carefully, right? I'm asking you for the monthly property taxes. Oh, so what do you think you need to do when you get that answer? We need to divide by 12. Yep. Divide by 12. So anybody want to change their answer? Yep, Tamika changed her answer. Good job, Tamika. Nope. Liliana, it's 12. Divide by 12, okay? Shari, I think your decimal point is a little bit off. Let's find out where your decimal point's a little off, sweetie. I think you're just a little bit off somewhere. So 430,000 times 35%. So 35% will be 0.35. Will be $150,500. Oh, you got, okay, no worries, sweetie. I just want to make sure you're okay. And then $4 per 100. Remember, we just take the $4 divided by 100. And that's where we get the 0.04 from. That's how we got that. And multiply will give us $6,020. But we want monthly property taxes. So divided by 12. And we get $501.67. Good job. All right, good job. Okay. And guys, keep in mind, if I question your answer in the chat, please don't think I'm picking on you. That's not it at all. I'm just pointing out something to you in case you didn't notice it. So I want to make sure you're doing it right, okay? The whole point of live Q&A is to get to talk to a live instructor, and to get feedback and to learn, so you can pass your state test. Okay. Let's keep practicing because practice makes progress. That's my favorite phrase. Practice makes progress. All right, number 3. If a property has an appraised value of $255,000 and is assessed at 30%, what are the annual property taxes if the local tax rate is 40 mills? Okay, let's tackle this one and see what we got. All right. Looking good, looking good. Okay, so let's take the 255,000, let's multiply by 30%, which would be 0.3, and we'll get $76,500. And then our local tax rate is 40 mills. Let's multiply that out, and we get $3,060. Very good, guys. Good job. All right. Number 4, if a property has an appraised value of $405,000 and is assessed at 10%, what are the monthly property taxes if the local tax rate is 45 mills? What are we looking at? Man, wow, I didn't catch anybody slipping this time, did I? Everybody caught the monthly this time, didn't y'all? Everybody's got it down there. Dang nabbit. All right. So remember, we're doing monthly property taxes this time. So 405,000 times 10%. is $40,500. And then we have 45 meals. And remember, for meals, we're gonna just divide by 1,000. So 45 divided by 1,000 will make it 0.045. So that's where we got that from, guys, okay? And that will give us annual property taxes of $1,822.50. But I asked for monthly. I asked for monthly, didn't I? So let's divide by 12 and get 151.88. 151.88. Excellent. All right. Number 5. If a property has an appraised value of $350,000 and is assessed at 25%, what are the quarterly property taxes if the local tax rate is $5.50 per $100? So let's tackle number 5. See what you guys come up with. We'll see what you get. For number 5. Okay. So we'll have the 350,000 times 25% is an assessed value of $87,500. And then we have our local tax rate of 0.055. So our annual property tax amount will be $4,812.50. But this time I'm asking for quarterly property taxes, right? Miranda, it's actually every 3 months. It's you're right. You do divide by 4, but it's every 3 months. There's 3 months to a quarter. So there's 4 quarters in a year. So divide by 4. So it's January, February, March. This is usually considered the first quarter in a year. And then it's April, May, June. Then the next quarter would be July, August, September. And then the last quarter of the year, if you ever heard people say the last quarter of the year, the last quarter would be October, November, December. So it's 12 months total, you guys. There's 12 months total in a year. But quarterly, it's every 3 months. So this would be the first quarter. 1, 2. Miranda, I'm explaining it to you right now, sweetheart, okay? 3, 4. This is the first quarter. This is the second quarter. This is the third quarter. And this is the fourth quarter. Miranda, think about a dollar bill. You got a dollar bill, right? There's 4 quarters in a dollar. When you quarter something, it means you divide it by 4 4 equal parts. So anytime you quarter something, to quarter means to divide it into 4 equal parts. So think about a year being 12 months divided by 4 will be 3. So there's 3 months in every quarter. Miranda, does that make sense to you now, hon? All right, good deal. Good deal. And again, that's just, and a lot of, and there's a common misconception that it's 3, but I could see how you guys would, get those confused. It's okay. So again, it's just, that's why I like to put that question up there, just to review it with you all in case you see it as a refresher. All right, good job, guys. Okay, so what time is it? Well, perfect timing. It's 1:01 and I am done for today. Let's see what we're gonna do tomorrow. Ta-da-da. And don't forget, Miss Linda will be here this afternoon to do a vocab quiz with you guys. All right. What am I doing tomorrow? Oh, I'm doing environmental hazards tomorrow. Ooh, we're gonna talk about mold and stuff like that. All right, you guys, thank you so much for coming in today. Thanks to my new folks. Nice to meet all of my new people. Thank you to my regular folks that are always here. And God willing, I will see you guys tomorrow. All right. And don't forget, if you want access to my SharePoint drive, just send an email to me and I'll be happy to send the link to you. Okay. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much. Bye. Auf Wiedersehen. Bye. Au revoir. Adios. Oh, here's my email one more time. There's my email. Eduardo, take down my email in case you need to email me, okay? You can send me an email. Bye, guys. Thank you. Have a good one.